Hey everyone, it's Steve, and I'm joined by Barry, and today we're doing a game chat all about The Fall on Nintendo Switch. The Fall came out earlier this year. We're a little late on getting this done. We played it and just, summer happened and everything, but it came back out in May 10th of 2018, but it originally came out in 2014. So this is an older game that they kind of remastered for the Nintendo Switch, and it's all about this, like, I don't know, how do you describe it, Barry? It's just like this area that, like, you don't really know much about in the beginning. Right?
Yeah, it's a 2D point and click style adventure game, almost like Maniac Mansion in a sense. But there is some combat, and like when you do arrive in this world, and you have no idea if you're on Earth or where you are. And as you go along, the mystery of where you are kind of comes to fruition, and it's no longer about where you are. It's more like what happened here.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's really where the mystery is.
Yeah, and so you play this artificial intelligence that you're on board this high tech combat suit, and it's abbreviated ARID. So most of the time it's just referred to as ARID, and basically you think that this person, the human that's in the suit, is unconscious, and your goal is, as the artificial intelligence, is basically to save this person. And so you kind of go on a journey trying to save them and try to figure out what's going on and what has transpired, and it's really, I don't know, I thought it was really confusing in the beginning, but I guess it fit the situation, because if I was actually in that situation, I'd be really confused as well if I just kind of plopped in this area and didn't really know what was going on. So it did fit, the style I think they were going for very well. But I found myself very, very confused in the very beginning of the game, but eventually kind of caught wind of what was supposed to be going on, and kind of learned as I went what needed to happen, and eventually, not spoiling any endings or anything like that, but you progress and you find out more as you go, and we'll just say there is a part two. Time has passed if you haven't seen that there is a part two, so think as you will about the ending. The story does go on after part one. So Barry, what's your initial thoughts after playing this? And I feel, did you play it before you kind of jump in, before, like, this was the first time
This
playing
was the
through it?
first time I played through it.
Okay.
I had never even heard about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. There's so many games coming out that a lot of them slip under the radar. So this is my first time playing with it, and I really enjoyed it. At first, I was a little confused, like you said. It does suffer from that Metroid Other M syndrome, where there are parts where it's like, I can totally do this, but my computer will not let me unless they feels my pilot is in danger. So you actually have to actively put your pilot, the person that's inside the suit, in danger for certain parameters to become unlocked. And I thought that was an interesting way of doing it, but it also kind of felt weird. Like, I'm purposely going to attempt to hurt my human just
Yeah.
so I could do these things. But like, it's weird. The starts off in a cave, and the cave segment is very, very different from the rest of the game. Then it becomes more of like a puzzle aspect, and like a weird dystopian factory with robots and dark humor, and you have to start thinking outside the box. And I picked up some things. I don't remember using all the items I picked up. I think some of them are just weird fake items, but like, it just starts going like underground and then the factories, and like it starts going out there. And by the time it gets to the ending, I actually did want more, and I was very pleased with the twist at the ending. I was like, whoa, okay, I kind of didn't see that coming
Yeah.
at all, and it made me question was I really, are you really doing good or are you doing bad? There is no real good and bad. It's really like morality is all over the place. So you might be playing a bad guy, you might be playing a good guy. It's up to interpretation and perspective. But the world that they build is very unique, and
Yeah.
I like it. And I want to find out more. Like I'd love to see what happened in that world prior to the events of you crash landing on the planet, because that seems like a really interesting and screwed up world, but
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I will say, Giant Bomb gave it the game of the year for best story, and so I think what you're hitting on, wanting to learn more and to figure out what's going on. It is very interesting. It's confusing, and you don't really know a whole lot about what this is. Even at the end, you still are left with like so many questions. But it is an intriguing story. Overall, I had the opposite experience of you, though, which is I know why we were hoping to have this game chat. Hopefully we should have had it a long time ago, because while I enjoyed the overall idea of the game, I actually did not enjoy playing it. So I'd say number one, the beginning, like the cave area is incredibly confusing, and sometimes you get to places where you're like, I have no idea what to do, and I had to look it up or I had to talk to you,
I helped
like
you out on one of the
to try to
segments.
get through one of them because it just did not make sense. Like it did, but it didn't, and I think what I didn't like, and that's okay. Like if I can't figure out a puzzle because I wasn't thinking the right way, I understand that. That happens in Zelda sometimes. That I got to get out of my head and finally figure out the way to solve this puzzle. That's fine. But the fact that I had to go from here to there to here to there, back and forth, like covering this entire thing, like for basically just what I felt was just to make the game longer, that I didn't like that at all. And that while it got better as it went, there was still elements of that I had to go up 3 floors over to the right to get this thing. Then I had to go back down 3 floors over to the left and then down another couple flights to get this thing. And then I had to go back up the 3 floors. And it was just traversing all around this place that I felt like I was doing a lot of, I don't know, traversing, for lack of a better term, like for just to make the game longer, because the puzzles themselves was basically just take this to there, but we're gonna make it take you 3 minutes to travel from here to there, because I don't know, it just kind of seemed like, I hate to say this, but it was a little lazy in my mind in terms of the game making. And I hate to say it because I feel like I'm critiquing the game makers themselves, and I can't make a game. I have no idea how to do that. So if I were to make a game, it'd be much worse than this. So I understand that, but that's what I was feeling. I think a lot in that style of the game. The overall idea I loved, but playing it just became more of a chore to me. Then I just wanted to figure out what was going on, but I had to do all this stuff in order to figure out what was going on.
See, I saw that, the little extra padding, but it didn't bother me because I love Metroidvania games, and I also love the point and click games like Maniac Mansion and Thimbleweed Park,
Hmm.
which is on the Switch. One of my nominations for Game of the Year
Yeah.
last year. Um, I love those style games. So for me, it was just run of the mill. I know
Mm.
what I'm doing, and I didn't mind traversing through the environment because I didn't think it was that big. It
Hmm.
was just a couple screens. It really wasn't that big, but it was so enjoyable just going through the environment. And a
Hmm.
lot of times it used what I call like the Resident Evil style, where everything is fine, and then once you pick up an item, it shifts the whole world, and like enemies are now there, or doors are now locked, and it changes everything. Once you pick up that item. So we kind of did do that, where like a peaceful traversal, now suddenly there were enemies that you had to fight, or there was a little bit of tension, or the music changed, or something about it. So it made going around a little bit more enjoyable. So
Hmm.
I didn't mind that as much,
Yeah.
especially I didn't find the world really that big. I think like if you mapped it out, it's really not that big. It just feels big because there's multiple things to do, and you can't just easily access areas. You have to sometimes go around the long way.
Right.
But the long way isn't that long. It's 2D, it's not 3D, so it's only left to right or right to left or up or down.
Yeah.
Um,
And
And yeah, you had to think outside the box a
yeah,
lot.
and I think that was fine too, but I think that coupled with the moving mechanics and everything else, it wasn't like something quick. And I know it was slowed down on purpose and all that sort of thing. And I think it just wasn't my cup of tea in the end. And that doesn't mean I think it's a horrible game and no one will enjoy it. It just in the end I was like, yeah, I prefer some different style. I like an actual Metroid game where she runs and guns sort of thing, and you have that elements of going back and forth, but there's also a little more action to go with it.
Yeah,
That's more
this
my
is a
style
slower
of it. Yeah,
pace.
it's a more slower paced, and so I found myself more like, all right, let's just get through this instead. With the
I found it was
ending,
pretty short though.
it was fairly short overall. Yeah. With the ending, it's funny because I was surprised. I was surprised. I didn't like see it coming or anything. Um, but the surprise was more like it wasn't a good surprise for me. It was more of a like a, I just wasted my time. That's how I felt in the end. Instead of like a, oh, I want to know more. It was more like a, are you kidding me?
Well, see, it left me wanting to know more because I wanted to know what happened.
Yeah.
Where did we go from the beginning of the game to here that this is the result?
Yeah.
And it wasn't because of like the twist could have gone multiple ways,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the ways which would have been easier without trying to spoil,
Mm-hmm.
would have been uh, kind of like when did that happen? It must have happened during the adventure.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they went the other way, that couldn't have happened during the adventure. It had to happen sometime prior to
Right.
the beginning of the game. What happened there? That just opened up the mystery. What happened there?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and to me, I wanted to see that.
Yeah. I think that was probably the biggest thing, and I think I don't know. I think just because of it leading up and because of me being already kind of feeling like it was a little bit of a chore and stuff like that too, I wasn't as excited to be like, but I'm still interested in what did happen for sure, because I think that's probably my fight with the game, my internal struggle with the game is I do like the story. I like where they were going with it. I like all the different elements. I like that. I just didn't like the mechanics of actually pulling it off for me and my preference of gaming. And I think that's where I land in this game. I think that's my ending opinion of it, because I have this fight of I like the concept a lot, but it didn't pull it off and make it exciting enough for me actually playing through it. I would love to read the story or watch someone else do it, but it was more of a chore for me to actually play through it. So,
That's understandable. I mean, I'm not a horror game fan, but I love the stories in horror games. I don't like to be scared. So, like, even when a new Resident Evil comes out, I usually don't play it. I'll just read the story because I want to know what's going on, and I'm invested in the story. But it's like I don't need to play it. I don't need to be scared. And that's just my take. Whereas an RPG, I won't read the story. I'll put 100 hours into it because I love the gameplay and I love, going headfirst into a deep RPG. So everyone's different, and that's great that we actually had a different take on it
yeah.
because of that. Now, obviously, that you're not interested in going for the sequel. You're more interested in reading the sequel.
Right. If you play it, I'll hear from you how it went.
See, this is a weird thing. Like, I was interested in getting the sequel and playing the sequel. The problem is time.
Mm-hmm.
And
I heard it's 3 times as long.
Yeah. It's longer, and it's like I'm with you. I think with the sequel, I'm just gonna read the story to find out what happened. Just because there's just not enough time. There's so many games coming out right now for the Switch and the 3DS, and we've got a lot on our bracket with more future game chats coming out. And then there's the games that we just want to play that aren't sent to us, that we just want to enjoy, on our own time. There's just no time.
Got to get everything done before Smash Brothers comes out.
I know Smash Brothers is oh man, and Pokemon soon too.
Gosh. So one of the cool things that I did like, I think it did help as well, is the voice and the sarcasm and the different stuff like that. It was kind of a Portal GLaDOS sort of thing going on at times, and so Arid and I think the other computers and how she reacts to them and their AI and stuff like that. It was quite humorous. Did you find that as well?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved the voice acting. I loved the dialogue between Arid and the one computer who becomes her buddy, and then the antagonist computer, and their dialogue. And it was smart writing.
Hmm.
It was that's one of the things that pull you in. If the characters are bland, it doesn't matter how great the setting is, you're bored. But they kept it alive, especially like some of the tests you have to do, some of the options and choices you can ask are really
Yeah,
hilarious. Like
yeah,
they're really like, what the heck is going on? Who wrote these? Not
right.
not not talking about the actual writers of the game, but like in the game's world, what possessed them to put these options in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought that was awesome. I thought the music, the atmosphere was great. I had no problem with that whatsoever, and played it all handheld. I don't know if you did docked, but I played
Oh,
the
I
whole
did
game
docked. I
handheld.
did the entire thing docked, actually. Yeah.
It ran great on handheld.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, and it was good on and docked as well. Was there any sort of touchscreen controls, or was it only just your controls themselves?
I There might have been. I just never tried.
Okay.
I did
Is
everything with
it because knowing it was
the
kind of a point and click style, I wondered if there was any sort of touch controls would have maybe helped, I think, possibly in the handheld, but because I think that was a little of my issues with the controls and stuff you had with the aiming and different things like that. It wasn't a huge issue, but it did kind of add a little to the frustration
I
sometimes.
did everything with the controller, the
Yeah.
Joy-Cons. So I don't know. There might have been, but I
Yeah.
just did everything with Joy-Con.
Graphics were good too, especially for being a 2014 game, upgraded. I think the style they were going after does kind of translate. Even though it is 4 years later, it's still kind of it looked good, and I think they did a really good job of upgrading it for HD. I don't know for sure, but I'm thinking it would probably run in 720, and it being a slow game, I think even I think it. I have no idea. This is just my guess. Is that it was probably like 30 frames per second, and that was okay for the style of game it was.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
No, it ran well. It played well. I enjoyed it. I really did. This was a surprise too because I didn't hear anything of it. So I actually went into this game blind.
yeah,
You said, "Hey, do you want the fall?" I was like, "Hey, I'll take the fall." I have no idea what it is. I'm going in completely blind.
yeah,
Let's see what it was. So I was pleasantly surprised.
yeah, yeah. I was completely blind as well. I think I may have seen the trailer beforehand, but that was it. And the trailer doesn't really tell you much. The trailer is more like, oh wow, okay, I'm still confused, but I'm willing to see what's going on. So, but yeah, it's actually currently as of recording this, it's 30% off on the eShop. So if you have not checked it out and you want to right now, 30% off. So that's a really great deal. I believe. Let me see if I can pull this up. It's regular $9.99. So for $10. So thinking of that, I know we got codes. So $10, is it worth $10, or should people buy it when it's on sale, like for 30% off?
Well, I mean, you should definitely buy it on sale. I think it was worth $10 for the atmosphere, the experience. Again, I like those kind of games. So if you like Metroidvania style and point and click style, and it's not point and click where you click and the character goes. You do control the character. So to make that clear, but there's the style of picking up an item and then using it in a wacky way or combining it in a wacky way, kind of deal is used. If you like that kind of thing, $10 no brainer and 30% off, you might as well. But yeah, I would buy it. I enjoyed it. If time was infinite, I would throw down the money for the second one right now. But time is not infinite and it's very limited, so I got to pick and choose my battles.
Yeah, yeah, and so yeah, I think myself, my preferences. If you're kind of interested, but you're thinking like me, I'd wait for that sale. So right now it is 30% off. Grab it. It's intriguing enough. I probably wouldn't have spent the whole $10, but if it did, if I didn't get the code and it came on sale later, I'd be intrigued enough to at least check it out because of the story alone, because of what's going on and that sort of thing. I think it's worth checking out for sure. So, any further thoughts before we close out?
Uh, no, I think that's about it. I mean, it's just a great game that needs to be played, and the problem is right now is a sea of amazing games, so things can easily get lost in that. But this is one of those that even if you don't play it on the Switch, even if you play it on another platform, because it is on other platforms, I think it's worth checking out. At least give it to a point. You got to get out of the cave though. Like if you're still in the cave is not representative of the rest of the game. The rest of the game gets very crazy. And if you like Portal, if you like the humor of Portal and GLaDOS and Aperture Science and all that, you will really like this game, especially once you get past the cave.
Yeah. And I think like we talked about this, there's tons of walkthroughs out there. So just you know, if you're kind of getting a little annoyed or bored or whatever, just you do yourself a favor, grab a walkthrough, figure out how to get out of the cave, and then keep on with the rest of the game.
Yeah. There's one little tricky area where, Steve got stuck. I helped him out. I got stuck. I looked through a walkthrough just to see, because it was one of those things that you can do without realizing you can do.
Hmm.
So all I could say without spoiling anything is try everything.
Yeah.
You aren't locked to anything. You could always move. You could always jump. You could always explore, regardless of what's going on. So you should do that. You should, take advantage of that.
Right. Even when you get to the point where you think you've tried everything. Apparently I hadn't. I'd left
Yeah.
one thing out.
And the funny thing is, when Steve was talking to me, I knew exactly what he was stuck on, because I was stuck on it too. Like, exactly. He didn't even tell me. I said, "This is what you're stuck on." And he's like, "Yep."
Yep.
Like, so it definitely was something that I'm sure other people got stuck on too. And other people were like, "Oh yeah, I figured this out right away." But that's the nature of the game. Like, that was the one big area I was stuck. I figured pretty much everything else out.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for joining me today, Barry, for this game chat. And thanks you to all you out there who have tuned in. If you're new to NintendoFuse, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the bell to be alerted every time we go live, every time we post a new video. We would love to hear your thoughts in the chat, or not the chat, the comments as well. I'm used to our podcast. We talk about the chat room a lot. Speaking of our podcast, we have another one coming up soon. So every other week we have podcasts going live on YouTube, and so we would love to have you join in those, and you can join in the chat during those as well. Share this with your friends who also love Nintendo games and all that stuff, and be sure to stay tuned to NintendoFuse.com and all our social media for up-to-date info about the industry. So thanks again, Barry, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.